Are you sure you're ready for this, young man?
Oh, I'm 100% ready. All right, I'm ready if you are.
3, 2, 1.
We are in here with Larry Gatlin, country music legend, icon, Hall of Famer. If I listed all the allocades, we'd be here all day.
I got time. Go ahead, man. I mean, let them know how famous I used to be. Well, I appreciate you being here. Welcome to my man cave. This is my one of the most comfortable places for me. First of all, Janice, my wife of 56 years, every house we've ever had, she made a home out of it, you know. And through the years, this wall kind of chronicles our professional life. And we're poor oil field trash from West Texas. Her daddy was a welder, my daddy was a driller. But we have been, God has blessed us with a lot of things, but all these things, these pictures, these mementos represent human beings.
Yeah.
People. And what we want people to know, we want you people to know, you did it. You bought records. You came to concerts. You listened to radio stations. You're part of what we do. So this is not to show off what I've done. It's to show off an appreciation of what those folks have done for us. So welcome to my man cave, and I'll shut up and you can ask questions.
Well, I appreciate you having us here at your beautiful home, and it is incredible you were showing me some of these pictures and the folks that you've bumped elbows with over the years. It's just incredible, which I mean a 70-year career like you've had. You're bound to run into some folks.
That's right. And hopefully not run over anybody in the process. But it has been a great blessing. And, you know, as an entertainer, as a writer, a singer, a songwriter, you have to take credit for your work. See, when at the end of a movie, they roll credits.
Yeah.
That just means who did what.
Right.
The good book says, God forbid that I glory except in the cross of Jesus Christ. We give God the glory, but we have to take the credit, even for the stinker-rooskies.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote a horrible song, and my brothers kid me about it all the time. The night the Andrew Jackson Hotel burned down. And I don't even know how it goes, but it was a stinker-rooski. My name's on it. That means I have to take credit for it. Now, I'm not going to blame that on God. Give God the glory for all the gold in California and Broken Lady, and I've done enough dying today, or Help Me, or Bitter They Are, whatever. But the credit belongs to me, but it is incumbent upon me to give the glory to God and say, and great English teachers I had, and history teachers and philosophy teachers, you know, where I've learned the art and craft to whatever extent I know it of putting a song together. So, and then the friends and neighbors, you know, those farmers. We were in Iowa last week. The brothers and I were, and first of all, it wouldn't have been near as much fun without Steve and Rudy. So I give them the credit also. We were in the middle of a cornfield. I mean, as far as the eye could see. The Clayton County Fair. Those corn farmers plowed and got up before breakfast and plowed and watered and harvested and tilled those fields and made enough money, and they decided to spend a little of it to come hear the Gatlin boys sing these little songs about doggies and horses.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it is.
How blessed am I?
Yeah, very blessed. And to God be the glory on all of it.
To God be the glory, great things he hath done. So loved he the world that he gave us his son, who yielded his life an atonement for sin, and opened the life gate that all may go in.
Absolutely.
Praise the Lord. Okay. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
We come from gospel music, and Are you sure you're ready for this, young man?
Oh, I'm 100% ready.
I'm kind of unscripted.
Oh, I know. That's what I love about it.
All right, all right. I promise I'll let you ask some stuff here in a minute.
No, I love that about you. I love the Opry Country Classic show that you guys put on. It's always, you add such a fun element to it, and it's always, you're going to get a good laugh and hear some good music when you go to the Opry Country Classic. So I appreciate y'all for doing that.
Well, I thank you. I'm not exactly sure when all this will air, but just in real time, the first one, and if you have to edit this out, is tomorrow night. First one we've done in a while, because we do them in the spring and the fall on Thursday nights. So this is the first one. I think we've been doing it 14 years. The regular Grand Ole Opry, Friday night and Saturday night, you'll have Bill Cody and Mike Terry and, Charlie Mattis, those folks who are the announcers on WSM. They are the announcers.
Right.
They introduce, on the regular Opry, they'll introduce Vince or somebody, an Opry member who does that 30-minute spot, introduces people. Then they'll have another 30-minute, another Opry member. But on this one, I tell people, it finally being full of good BS finally came in real handy. They let me go out there and do the whole show. And I sit out there. I don't want to come back and forth. I sit out there and kind of do some interplay a lot of times with folks. And, hey, I have the best, well, not really the best seat in the house. I mean, the best seat in the house are out front. Backstage is the worst place in the world to watch a show. You can't see anything or hear anything. Everybody wants to get backstage. But to sit there and like when TG's on or Daly and Vincent or our dear friend, the late, great Jeannie Seeley, when she used to be on, I love you, Stick. That was her nickname. Say hello to Dolly. Dottie. Dolly's still here. Dottie, Roger, John, June, Chris, Mickey, our heroes.
Yeah, I feel like we'd be remiss not to talk about Jeannie, who sadly passed away a few days ago. I was fortunate enough to be around her a couple of times, and we had actually planned on sitting down together, and she ended up, Jean got sick, and then she got sick, but we didn't get to do it. But she was a Spitfire.
Oh, she was fun, spirited, uninhibited, incredibly talented. That your hand is like a torch each time you touch me. And it just rolled out like she was just no effort at all. Great writer, great entertainer, wonderful person. She was funny. She had a great wit. And Janice and I, you like stories?
Absolutely.
You like good stories?
Love a good story.
Janice and I left Houston, Texas in June of 1971. We had a little Mercury Capri. Don't even make it anymore. And we pulled we pulled that car with a rent truck. That's what it was. Here we pulled up in front of Dottie West's house one night about 8 o'clock. We had driven all day. And Dottie opened the front door and let us in. She said, "Oh, come in and have a bite to eat." It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. She was cooking breakfast. She was a night person. She said, "We're going to go over to Hank's boat and see Jeannie and all." Janice said, "I'm going to bed." So, because we'd driven all day. Well, Dottie, the first night in this town, we went to Hank. That's when she was married to Hank Cochran. Hank Cochran, Jeannie Seeley, Jack Green, Red Lane. We got in Hank and Jeannie's boat, went across the lake, and docked out there by Mickey Newberry's houseboat and waited for Mickey to get up. And that morning, when he got up, he was carrying a guitar and smoking a cigarette, carrying a guitar and drinking a cup of coffee, walked down the dock, and he got in their boat, and he said, "Good Lord, kid, you do look like me." Because Dottie had told me, "You look enough like Mickey Newberry, you got to be able to write a song," and told Mickey, "I found this kid in Texas." So he climbed in the boat. He said, "Let me show y'all something I wrote last night, or I put together." And he sang the American Trilogy for us, the first time anybody had ever heard it.
Wow.
Of course, it was a few years, 3 or 4 years later, he put it on a record, which Elvis heard and, of course, did the version that everybody knows. Mickey was a great friend, but to be ushered into that pantheon, as it were, that Mount Rushmore. Hank Cochran, one of the great songs. Red Lane, one of the great songs. Dottie, one of the great songwriters. Jack Green, one of the great country singers of all time. Dottie West, and then Mickey Newberry. That was my first night.
Well, that's incredible.
So, thank you, Lord Jesus.
Wow.
And we sat there all night and sang songs and had a big time.
That is incredible. That is a lot of talent to be on a couple of boats.
It's absolutely correct. Thank God nothing sank.
Well, when I was setting up in here, I saw over there a little suit. Was that your suit when y'all were younger?
That's mine. I'm the eldest Gatlin brother, so maybe later you do a cutaway or whatever you call all that editing and stuff. There's a fellow named Dalton Galloway, and I have tried to find him. There's no record of him. He was a tailor, Western tailor in the little town of Abilene, Texas. There was an old boy named Slim Willett. His real name was Winston Moore, but that just doesn't sound like a country singer. Slim Willett sounds a lot more like a country singer. And he was a country songwriter and did little shows around, had a band, and had a TV show on KRBC TV station, the NBC station in Abilene. Well, the brothers and I, on March 8th, 1955, which we just celebrated 70 years, as you alluded to a while ago, we won a little talent show in Abilene. And this fella, Slim, it came out in the paper the next day. Mm-hmm. Well, he called Mama. That's when everybody's name was in the phone book, or information. And hired us to be on his Wednesday night TV show, Slim Willett Show, brought to you by Western Chevrolet 2001 South First, Abilene, Texas. I can still hear it. So she had this Dalton Galloway fella make us these little suits, and we all three of us still have them. And a couple of months ago on the Opry, 3 or 4 months ago, my 3 little grandsons, who are stair-stepped just like we are, almost exactly the same age difference. My daughter-in-law, Tracy, had some made just like it. And they went out there with us, and we showed pictures of that, and they sang All the Gold in California and tore the house up. So for better or worse, friends and neighbors, you got 3 more Gatlin brothers coming, so just get ready. They've got the Gatlin gene. 2 of them sing harmony. The little one, back before Walker, the youngest one, this is about 6 or 8 months ago, before he had a chance to be on the Opry, he said, "Papa, when am I going to get to be on the Grand Ole Opry?" I said, "Well, maybe another 6 or 8 months." He said, "Oh, man." I mean, he was torqued off. He wanted to be on right now.
Yeah. Well, I was there that night.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You saw it. That's right.
Yeah. That was the night that y'all celebrated 70 years.
70 years. That's right. Dillon,
had cake and everything.
I mean, I got kind of discombobulated. That's right. It was that night. Sure.
It was cute to see them out there on stage. They ate it up. I think it was the littlest one. He was the entertainer.
There's no question about it. He is talking about stinker rooskies. They're sweet little boys. Cash, the oldest one, took them 2 of them to the fair the other night. The little one didn't get to go again. It's past his bedtime, but took him to the county fair out in Franklin. And today was his first day of first grade. And I just, how time, ain't it funny how time slips away. Thanks, Willie. It really is. They're great kids. Got a great, wonderful family. Our eldest grandchild, Parker, is about to make us great-grandparents here in September. And Campbell, the younger one, just got married a couple of months ago. So we're very blessed. We've got good health. That the big time, the Coliseums and the huge rodeos and things like that, and the 5,000 and 10,000 seat halls. God works miracles, and I'm not going to tell God what to do. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's the cornfield in Iowa, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Those farmers, those people came to see the Gatlin Brothers last week. It used to be the Iowa State Fair, for the big grandstands. Well, now it was a smaller place, about 1,000, 1,500 people, but they paid their hard-earned money to get in.
Yeah.
And they stood up and screamed and hollered, and sang almost every word with almost every song. And we brought some joy to them. We earned our keep. If we don't earn our money, we give some of it back. We don't want the promoter having to go broke just paying. So, but, 90% of the time we earn our money. Like I say, if we don't earn it, we give a little back, so everybody's okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a blessed life. Like I say, the friends and neighbors. As long as they'll come out there doing it, as long as I can sing, I've done enough dying today in the key of A. Let's see, What will we do now? You tell me. The hourglass is all out of sight. As long as I can hit that note and sing all the gold in G and draw a crowd, we'll go out there and do it. What else will I do? Just sit here? I mean, I love my wife. She goes with me most of the time, but you can only play so much golf.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I tell you, I've seen you more times than I could count. And it's always a great show. I always enjoy watching y'all, and it's always entertaining and fun. So anybody that's listening who hasn't been to one of your shows, I encourage them very much to go, because it's always just a great time.
Well, thank you.
And interactive. You're always
Sure.
interactive with fans.
Sure.
I love that.
Well, and I don't mean to, belabor the point, but the friends and neighbors out there, what they always tell Janice sells our merchandise for the brothers when we're on the road. She runs the videos for me. We don't sell merch when it's just my solo songwriter show. But people come out there, and she said the first thing they say every time is, "We didn't know they were so funny." And the second thing they say is, "They sound like they did 50 years ago."
Yep.
So some people sound like they did 50 years ago, and it wasn't any good then. It ain't no good now. But that's not for me to say. I'm rooting for everybody. God bless everybody. Sound a little snotty on my part. But, like I say, Daddy worked in the oil field. And he told me one time I was going to go to work for him. He said, "Well, here's how it's going to be." He said, "You're going to work today. You're not going to sit there on your butt."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "If it's broke, fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's broke and you can't fix it, paint the son of a..." That's what you do, paint it. You're going to be working when you're out there. So doing an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, I mean, they've honored us with their hard-earned money to come hear us sing. So I write songs for a living. You knew that, I guess.
I didn't know that, but I'm glad you told me.
Let's see what key. I'd rather quit 10 years too early than 10 minutes too late. Ain't about to leave my leaving in the fickle hands of fate. God, I gave my soul to you, sweet boy Jesus, so I know my soul is safe and sound. I know my soul is safe and sound, but dear God, you're gonna have to tell my heart when it's time to lay it down. As long as we can do it and not stink up the joint. You see entertainers. I'm an old recovering drug addict and alcoholic, sober by the grace of God today. The most addicting thing in the world is that thing right there, that light. That light, that spotlight on a stage or a TV camera or for a podcast. And it's sad sometimes that we see people. We mentioned Jeannie a while ago. Mm-hmm. She walked out there every night, before she got sick here the last year or so. 83, 84, whatever. Went out there and sang her little Took Us Off, and performed and entertained. She didn't stink up the joint.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see people who cannot walk away from it. Athletes, it's hard to see sometimes. But when we can't do it, we're not going to stink up the joint. The folks out there deserve better than that. So God, you're going to have to tell me when it's time to lay it down.
Well, you know, we talked about the length of your career, 70 years just celebrated. The amount of change that you've seen over the years in the music industry altogether has to be incredible. What was it like when you come to town? You talked about being around those legends like Dottie and Mickey Newberry and folks like that, but what was the town like?
Well, it was a smaller place then, obviously. Country music was just about to get into that Willie and Waylon and the outlaw thing and the pop crossover kind of what they call countrypolitan. But back then, it was maybe a few of the big stars were going to Vegas, but it was county fairs. It was what they used to call package shows, where they put a bunch of people on at one time. Beer joints, dance halls. And then as that crossover thing kind of happened, and I kind of attribute it to a lot of it to Mr. Ray Price. He, you know, for years he wore the cowboy hat and the spangles and all that, and had the, you know, the Cherokee Cowboys.
Right.
As good a swing band, you know, this side of Bob Wills. And that's what they played. They played dance halls and beer joints. Well, all of a sudden, somebody told him, or he realized that he had not more to give. Country music is fine on its own. And beer joints and honky-tonks and dance, that's fine. It's not that it was more, it was just, well, maybe it was a little more, a little different. And he had Cam Mullins come in and write those beautiful string arrangements for the good times. And all of a sudden, as country music started crossing over, and we came to town. I came to town in 71. Well, Steve and Rudy were here by 75 or 76, and we had broken leg. And by 1980, the early 80s, we had sung in Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
Ray Price, and then Dolly, when she crossed over from the country. And it's not that they left it, they took it with them.
Yeah.
You know, they took it with them to pop radio stations, you know, and classic country and took it all over the world. And then before you know it, Roy Clark and Mr. Price and Dolly and Glenn Campbell, who was kind of one of the forerunners also of that, you know, kind of countrypolitan from the L.A. country, headlining in Vegas. We hadn't been in town 7 or 8 years, and we're headlining the, you know, Desert Inn in Vegas, one of the old, and just took country music to more places, to more places. I would venture a guess that the people in parts of Germany and France know more about Nashville than they do about New York City or L.A. Because we've been there, and we took country music there. So it's been an incredible ride, and like I say, life is a bell curve. You know, you go up and you go down. Everybody except Garth. Garth just keeps going, or Dolly. I mean, there are a few of those that they defy gravity. But look at the places that Garth, you know, he's sung at Wembley, the soccer, what they call football over there.
Yeah.
You know, Wembley Stadium for 150,000 people or whatever it is. So I think to answer your question, I wrote a song called Johnny Cash is Dead and His House Burned Down. I said, I got nothing against the young country stars, but I could use more fiddles and steel guitars. Johnny Cash is dead and his house burned down. I could use a little more steel guitars and fiddle on some of them.
Yeah.
But guess what? When the Statler brothers came to town, they were different than the Maddox brothers and Rose. When Roy Clark came to town, he was different than Roy Acuff. When the Gatlin brothers came to town, we were different than the Statler brothers. The Gatlin brothers were. When Marty Stewart came to town, he was different than Marty Robbins.
Yeah.
Okay. When Johnny Cash came to town, he was different than Johnny I've forgotten the guy's name, but he is different than him too.
Johnny Horton.
Yeah, Johnny Horton. That's exactly who I was trying to think of. So everybody brings their little touch to it. Things kind of come, go in cycles and around. So my dear friend, the oldest, my two oldest friends, Mike Campbell, who I met in the 8th grade, is the Oak Ridge Boys merchandise guy. He was the best man at my wedding, Mike Campbell.
Oh, wow.
But speaking of the Oak Ridge Boys, the only one I've known as long as I've known Mike, pretty close, maybe Mike a couple, is Dwayne Allen, my dear friend with the Oak Ridge. And by the way, we miss Joe Bonzel every day.
Oh, yeah.
I miss Joe Bonzel every day. What a spirit, what a singer, what a great human being. But Dwayne told me something one time. Somebody wrote an article in one of the magazines about competition in Nashville. And in that article, I don't even remember what magazine, it kind of tried to pit us against the Oak Ridge Boys, a little bit, of a competition. Well, I called Dwayne. I said, Dwayne, I didn't have anything to do with that. I said, I don't feel that way. And then he told me something. He said, we don't feel that way either. I said, you're one of my longest, oldest, best friends. And Dwayne told me something mystical. He said, root for everybody. Whether you like the song or the singing, or whether you think you can sing better than that or play better, that doesn't matter. These people are getting to live their dreams, of having a number one. He said, if you'll cheer for everybody and root for everybody, every Monday morning when you open up Billboard magazine, one of your friends will have a number one record.
Yeah.
That's mystical for an old boy from D-Port. You hear me, Dwayne Allen? You just old country boy from D-Port, Texas.
I love Dwayne.
I love you, Dwayne. And all the Oak Boy Ridges.
I had Dwayne on a while back, and he told us, the incredible history of the Oak Ridge Boys and everything. And I asked him a question that I want to ask you. You've been with your brothers for 70 years. And I've heard Charlie Louvin say in interviews talking about him and Ira, about how hard it was to get along. And how do you go 70 years and get along the whole time with your brothers?
Well, I believe the answer, the good book says, all good and perfect things come from above. We have believed as far back as the picture over there, because we were going every Sunday morning and Sunday night and Wednesday night we were in church. And people say, well, you couldn't have known any spiritual thing. Well, we did too. We had to learn our memory verse every Sunday morning for Sunday school. And we have had that feeling that God anointed us to sing music for people. And yeah, it was the gospel music at first, and it morphed into the country music, but we still sing gospel music. We sing Help Me every night, the song that Elvis and that Kris recorded, and share our faith at the end, a song I wrote 3 or 4 years ago called Mostly Fair Winds Have Blown on Me. So we don't turn it into a church service. That's not why they came. But having said that, most of the people in our audiences are believers, and they love country and they love gospel music. We only sing one song in our show that's slightly questionable, maybe. Well, I thought I had fallen forever in love the minute your red gingham dress hit the floor. I just wish you were someone I love. But after that, after the song, I talk about it a little bit and kind of explain it. These are just old beer drinking, cheating country songs. But people understand that. I believe God understands that. Steve and Rudy and I love each other. We're each other's best friend. We love to sing. I've got a really good job, Dillon. I get paid pretty well to hear the Gatlin Brothers sing about 80 to 100 times a year.
Yeah.
That ain't a bad gig.
Not at all.
We're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And when I say that, that's not lest any man should boast. God gave us great chops.
Yeah.
Like I say, I can still sing. I've done enough to die. Rudy sings those tenor parts same way he did 50 years ago. And it's in tune. I hope, I know in my heart that the songs are quality songs.
Yeah.
We made good records. We have a great, we don't take a big band anymore. We just take Steve Smith, our lead guitar player, and like we call him brother from another mother for 50 years. But, if you can make people laugh a little bit and cry a little bit and give them their money's worth, what better way to make a living? The other key to it is respecting each other's boundaries. And we don't hang out a lot. Rudy lives in Dallas most of the time. Steve doesn't live far from here. Once in a while we'll play golf if Rudy's in town. We used to carry golf clubs on the road. We'd throw out a guitar case. We had to make room for a golf. Because we got to, in Vegas and Palm Springs and Pebble Beach and Augusta and the different places that you nice people made it possible for us to go. I mean that. So we play golf a little bit, but we used to carry the clubs all the time. We don't do that as much anymore because we don't have buses and place to carry them. And we're not out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks where we'd have maybe 2 or 3 days in between sometimes. We usually go out for 1 or 2 days. We had the road trip from hell last week, getting to a little place called Clayton, Iowa, middle of that cornfield, sweet people, loved our music. Every airplane was late or canceled. We got to Chicago late. The flight to Waterloo had canceled. The hotel that's in the airport there, the O'Hare Hilton, was booked because they had a bunch of canceling. We slept on the floor by gate G5 at American Airlines. We slept on the floor for 5 or 6 hours, what little sleeping we did. There would have been no time to get in the car, go downtown Chicago, Palmer House or somewhere and get a hotel room. O'Hare Hilton was full. So that's what we did. And we didn't complain. When we think about what our daddy and what our father-in-law and our grandfather had to do, what Papa Don, my mama's daddy, had to do to feed 12 kids, 8 kids. Granny had 12, 4, only 8 of them survived into, teenager. He was what they call a pumper for Sinclair Oil Company. Went out and oiled down the machines and stuff that those rods pulling those oil wells, pump jacks back and forth.
Right.
Dirty, dangerous, hard, back-breaking work. There were no unions. They fed their families. And they instilled that work ethic in us. So if you have to sleep on the floor at O'Hare, at gate G5, you sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
And you get up and you don't complain about it because that'll make the rest of your day tomorrow is going to be awful.
Yeah.
And all the rest of the planes were late. The rent car, the back hatch didn't work. We had to load guitars up through the center. You ought to see taking those big old hard cases of old guitar and shoving them through the back door and trying to get them over the seat. And it's crazy. But you do it because it's, we believe it's a calling of God. We've had people, the cards. Am I talking too much?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll let you ask some questions in a minute. My wife was at a wedding. No, it was a funeral. Sometimes those are one and the same. She was at a funeral in Oklahoma by the punch bowl. Everybody has punch and chicken salad sandwiches after the funeral. And a lady came up to her at the punch bowl and said, "Are you kin to the Gatlin?" It was Tracy Gatlin, our daughter-in-law. It was her aunt, I believe, in Oklahoma. And the lady heard him say, "Tracy Gatlin, you're kin Tracy's mother." And Jane said, "Mother-in-law." She said, "Well, are y'all part of the Gatlin?" She said, "Yes, I'm Larry's wife." She said, "We thought you were, but we didn't want to be rude. But there's a gentleman over here who wants to tell you a story. Do you have 5 minutes for him?" Jan said, "Well, sure." Went over there, and this man said, Mrs. Gatlin? She said, I work for John Deere Tractor Company. I said, back in the 80s, they sent me to Bulgaria when it was still behind the Iron Curtain. They wanted me to teach those farmers over there. The Communist Party bought tractors and our equipment. They wanted us to teach them how to ride them, drive them, maintain them, do it safely and all that. So I went over. He said, I was sitting on a park bench in Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. And he said, a local man came up to me. He said, I was reading a book. A local man came up to me and said, oh, sir, where did you get that book? They don't let us have books here. You know, the Communist Party won't let us read. The John Deere guy said, well, I'm an American. I brought it with me. And the local Bulgarian man said, sir, when you're finished reading it, said, would you let me borrow it? He said, I'll guard it with my life. The American said, well, here, you can have it right now. And he gave it to him. He said, but where did you learn to read and speak English? These words came out of that man's mouth. I learned to speak English listening to Gatlin Brothers records they smuggled through the Iron Curtain.
Wow. That's incredible how far music can go.
That's not just a job.
Yeah.
Dillon.
Yeah.
So sleeping on the floor was part of a job. But the next day in that cornfield for those good Iowa folks, that was part of a calling from God.
Yeah.
And I hope and pray that we have honored that calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I mentioned Dwayne a while ago, the Opry. Every country music act, they all have stories like that.
Yeah.
Because see, it's not just about, you know, come to Jesus and be flat. The concert doesn't have an altar call at the end of it.
Right.
But if you have lifted one person's heart out there, and it might have been a good old beer drinking, cheating song, but you entertained them for a minute and took them out of whatever their problem or their situation, the act of entertaining someone.
Yeah.
That's a God thing that lifts your spirits. So
absolutely,
we all have those stories. It's not. I'm sorry, I cry at garage sales. I mean, if they're good ones, yeah, they have to be good ones. I get a little more. Just a regular garage sale, no, not much. But if it's a real good one, I'll tear up if you don't watch me.
Well, I tell you, be expecting, once this goes out, be expecting a call from T.G. Shepherd scolding you.
Why?
I have a similar story to yours. A couple months ago, I was flying back to Nashville from Charlotte, and it had a layover in Orlando and missed a plane. Got online, booked a hotel, go to the hotel. I'd accidentally booked it for the next night because I'd crossed over time zone and blah, blah, blah. I get down there, it's booked up. And so by this time, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I walked to a Denny's and had a cup of coffee, and I was falling asleep at the booth. I said, I got to do something about this. And I went outside, and behind the Denny's was a generator with some palmetto planted in a circle around it. And I went and dove in the palmetto and took me a little cat nap and went back to the airport. And TG called me right when I got to the airport and asked me how I'd been doing and stuff. And I told him what had happened. He said, if you ever go somewhere again like that, do not sleep in palmetto or on the floor. Call me. I know people in every town in this country, and I will have somebody put you away.
Yeah, but TG, the good, my great friend, the good shepherd. Your story about sleeping with a friend of yours, that ain't near as good as sleeping behind the dumpster at
the Denny's.
At Denny's. I slept behind the dumpster at Denny's.
Hey, I don't know. I didn't meet Elvis
Palmetto
afterwards.
on the ground.
I wasn't fortunate enough to go skating with Elvis.
Well,
afterwards.
I guess that's true. I don't think he did either. That's not true. That you were leaving the skating rink and Elvis just, come on.
We joked with.
It's true.
I had him and his daughter Peyton on the show, and we were joking with him, saying he was the Forrest Gump of country music.
He is.
Been everywhere and seen everything.
Oh, he's one of my oldest and best friends. Hadn't seen him in a little while. Of course, probably last spring when we did the Opry Classics again. But, we've known each other for 50 years. Hundreds of shows together. And we are right up on the wall. Oh, sit right here.
All right.
Speaking of our buddies, the Oak Ridge Boys and T.G. Shepherd, this is a picture of us. T.G. and the Gatlin Boys were working, singing the Desert Inn in Vegas, and the Oaks were at the MGM. So we decided, and that's Mike Campbell, we decided to dress up like the Oak Ridge Boys.
Wow.
T.G. out of all that mess.
Oh yeah, right there in the middle.
There he is. I hope that does justice to that. But, just crazy stuff. But you make friends that you'll just have, till you renew the friendship in heaven,
Yep. Well, you mentioned a song of yours a while ago that is just such a precious song to me, and I love it, and I'd love to just kind of hear how you wrote it, but help me.
Well, I had been in Nashville. I had been in Nashville less than a year. And Dottie and Roger Miller and Willie and John Cash, everybody was so kind and so encouraging. And I was on the road with Dottie one night, and they'd all told me I was going to be a big star, And I'd been in town about 6 months, and it hadn't happened yet, and I was really mad. Or maybe not mad, but I was sad, and I was confused. I just thought it was supposed to happen overnight,
Yeah.
And Dottie was on stage one night, and I was sitting in her bus playing her Ovation guitar. And in fact, that Ovation guitar right over there.
Oh, wow.
That Glenn Campbell gave her, that Dottie gave to me, that I gave to Willie to keep in a bus that he had down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who owned the bus died, and I figured he sold the bus. And that's back when I was doing a little too much alcohol. And, well, of course, any alcohol is too much for me anymore. And kind of started off on that druggy train that we get lost on sometimes. And 3 years ago out in Colorado, the promoter came in and said, Mr. Gatlin, there's some young man out here says he's Ernest Owen's son. I said, Robert! So I ran out. It was this kid that I'd known since he was 12 years old. And we got to talking. I said, boy, wouldn't you love to see that old bus again? He said, oh, my uncle has it. It's in Abilene. And said, there's a guitar under there I think might be yours.
Wow.
Came back to me. So anyway, I was sitting with that guitar and sad, and it just sitting in Dottie's bus. Lord, help me walk another mile, just one more mile. I'm tired of walking all alone. Lord, help me smile, another smile, just one more smile. I know I just can't make it on my own. I never thought I needed help before. I thought that I could get by myself. But now I know I just can't take it anymore. With a humble heart on bended knees, I'm begging you please for help.
Wow. Such a beautiful song.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for it.
I love that song. And that song, one of my favorite stories in country music history involves you. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was at Jimmy Snow's church you were playing that song when Kris Kristofferson gave his life to the Lord.
Yep. It was an incredible moment. He had been out, he and Connie Smith had done a show the night before out in McMinnville, I think, with Dottie West to raise money for the high school band, or so, as I recall. And Kris was not in good shape. He'd had a little bit too much to drink. And Connie, sweet Connie Smith, what an angel, hornswoggled him or buttonholed him or something and got him to church. And when Jimmy Snow, Reverend Snow, saw him, and he gave he asked me to sing "Help Me," because I had sung it there before, and he asked me to sing "Help Me," and he gave a little, not a big sermon. He just kind of what old Pentecostals call an altar call. Said anybody want. And Kris used to tell a story. I mean, we have a daughter named Kristen Cara, named after him. So Kris told the story. He said, "Well," said that Jimmy Snow said, "Anybody wants to get saved, raise their hand." He said, "Well, hell, I was going to be the last one in there to raise my hand." He said, "I'll kiss your ass if I wasn't the first." I'm sorry, did I say that on a podcast? Edit. "I'll kiss your foot if I wasn't the first." Chop. And then he said, "Anybody wants to find Jesus, come on up here and let us pray for you." He said, "Well, I was going to be the last one to do that." He said, "I'll kiss your foot if I wasn't the first." He said, "I went up there, and as only Kris Kristofferson, who I think is the greatest wordsmith in the English language since William Shakespeare. That's what I truly believe. Nobody else ever said freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, or I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt." Yeah. Nobody else ever said that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of great ones, but that's got a little sparkle on it.
Yeah.
Then what he said was, "I found myself asking for forgiveness I didn't even know I needed."
Wow.
Because he didn't know anything about church. He didn't know anything about religion. What he knew about spiritual things, religion, Christianity, was from the writings of his favorite poet and mine, William Blake. Kris had named his son. He was a William Blake scholar, at West Point, went to Oxford, and was, brilliant man. But as only he could say something like that's really all. He never was in an organized religious thing, but he felt the move of the Spirit of God, which there's nothing like that. Yeah. When the warm oil of God's Spirit comes flowing down on you, it's the most powerful. What's more powerful than the Spirit of God, the move of God in someone's heart and their life? So he had I'm not going to call it a religion. Religion is man-made. He had a spiritual. Religion is of men make that up. Spirituals, God makes that up.
Yeah.
He had a spiritual epiphany, an awakening, and on the way home that day, Connie was taking him back to his apartment down on Music Row, and he wrote "Why Me, Lord" in the car.
Yeah.
On the way home that Sunday morning. Well, they called me that afternoon. Janice and I had a little apartment over over there on I-24, over on around Nolensville. And they wanted to come over because they had told Jimmy Snow about it, and he wanted us to be on the Grand Ole Gospel Hour. And see Chris's picture right here, up above that, with the Opry microphones.
Yep.
That's Kris, and unfortunately, Connie's not in the picture. She was standing over here. That's the first time anybody ever heard "Why Me, Lord."
Wow.
Except my wife in our living room when they taught it to me, that little apartment. We sang "Help Me" and "Why Me, Lord" that night, and then he had me put it on the record.
Yeah.
That I guess Jesus was a Capricorn maybe, and then we're singing it here when he got the Gene Autry Western Heritage Award. So we go back, and I miss him very much, very much. So there's a scripture I believe in John says, "The wind bloweth where it knoweth not, where it bloweth where it listeth." I'll have to go, but it means that Spirit of God goes and moves, and you can't direct it, and God directs it, and it goes in little nooks and crannies, and it finds people, and it finds Kris Kristofferson, who was feeling terrible and hungover that day, and wrote maybe the greatest country gospel song of all time.
Yeah.
So, and to whatever extent my little song contributed or inspired that, again, to God be the glory. I won't sing the whole thing. Where did you come up with the drifting cowboy?
Well,
I'm going to interview you now. Are we back on?
we're back on.
And tell me, Dillon, exactly where did you come about the name for your podcast, The Drifting Cowboy?
I bet you could guess.
Well, who is the drifting cow? Okay, just a second. It wasn't Gene Autry, the drifting. See them time drifting. I'm just a cowboy riding all day long. It wasn't Bob Wheeler. He was a Texas troubadour. No, that's Ernest Tubb.
I figured with my passion for country music history, I should name it after something historical.
Well, that's not Hank Williams.
What better than Hank Williams' band?
Hank Williams, the Drifting Cowboys. Of course it was. I got it at the end. You stepped on my line.
Yeah, I love country music history and the stories and all of that. And really all this, the podcast, I never expected to go as far as it has. I became friends with a lot of songwriters in town, like Gary Gentry and Bobby Braddock and Roger Murrah and those guys. And they would tell me these incredible stories. And I was like, man, somebody needs to document all this. So I kind of started it, and then other folks enjoyed it, like Travis Tritt, and then reached out to me and was like, hey, I love what you're doing, and why don't you come to my house and do it? And it's kind of expanded from there, but it's all about the history for me. I think country music's got such a strong, rich, deep history, and the genre is just so incredible. And I think that's just as important to me. That's just as important as the music or anything, is keeping the heritage alive and all the stories and documenting them. And so, not to ramble on, but that's kind of why I started it.
Well, and how long have you been doing it?
I've only been doing the podcast for a couple of years, and it's been really sporadic because I've just done it whenever I've come across people who I wanted to record their stories.
And how many followers do you have, or viewers? Or
across everything. I started doing the stories, just me telling the stories online about 5.5 years ago, and we're right around 1.1 million followers, which completely blew my mind. I never expected to get that far at all. I just love country music history, and I'd come across a story that I thought people needed to hear, and I thought I was a weirdo for loving country music history that much. But no, I wasn't a weirdo, because people loved it, and it's just grown and grown. And 1.1 million people who love country music history, because that's all I do is country music history.
I'm nervous now. There's 101 million of y'all. Like, what? Huh? I want my mommy.
Well, to know that it's really comforting to me to know that there's that many people who care about the history of the genre. And that, to me, that's just been the most incredible revelation.
Well, think about something. Well, that is an admirable trait and quality on your part. Humility. Humility, like that old boy said, I'm proud of my humility. Well, what does that mean exactly? But that's why, see, people can smell a phony a mile away. They know.
Right.
Old country boy like you kind of talking like this right here. He got his ball cap whaling hat on, and his jeans and his old scuffy boots. They know whether you bought those down at the Goodwill that somebody else had worn. They know that's not true. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
You're not affecting that little accent and all that country boy stuff. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And it's genuine. And when it's genuine, it plays right there. It plays right. They can tell it.
Yeah.
They can tell it. So, well, I've got Alan Shamblin and some folks. We're about to start a little podcast. And kind of doing it from a songwriter. See, what you're doing is what people have been doing since the caveman scratched things out on rocks. They're telling the story of what happened.
Yeah.
So our house, I tell people, our house is basically a library that has 3.5 baths and a living room and a den and a kitchen. Because we're book people. We love books. I wrote a song. I write songs. Did you know that? Let's see. I had it Mickey Newberry drop D10. The first time I fell in love with a little girl named Jane. She had a brother named Dick and a sister named Sally, dog named Spot and a cat named Tim. Since then my life hadn't been the same. And if it weren't for fun with Dick and Jane, I would not be in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. The first time I fell in love with a little girl named Jane. Now, some people won't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Fun with Dick and Jane was the first grade reading book. That book, Fun with Dick and Jane, was for 50 years was what you learned in the first grade. When you first learned Dick, Jane, Sally, Puff, Tim, Spot, and it was called Fun with Dick and Jane. The first time I fell in love with a little girl named Jane. I fell in love with words, with books. If you told me that I've got to go read a book for homework, well, guess what? Your podcast is a book. It's a book for people who may not have time or the inclination. Maybe they're not good readers. We have done in America, of all the things America's done very well and lifted people out of poverty and saved people, rescued them from tyrannical governments and fed and medicine, whatever. One of the things we've done a very poor job of, in my opinion, I come from a whole line of teachers. Janice was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. Steve Wife's a teacher. Steve was a teacher. I do little master classes. I do a little. The reading skills of Americans has plummeted. People graduating from high school who read on a 4th grade level, they can't read anymore. My point being, you know what they do? They watch podcasts.
Yeah.
And they hear about history and about country music. And maybe, wouldn't it be incredible if and I don't mean, again, to sound snooty and highbrow, wouldn't it be cool if somebody out there said, hey, who is that guy Kristofferson they're talking about? What was that poet's name he was talking? William Blake, was it William Blake?
Yeah.
And maybe they'll go read one of the most spiritual poems in history. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? What kind of God would it have to be be able to create not only the sparrow that flies around, but the tiger who, if he can outrun the sparrow, gets to eat tonight.
Yeah.
That's now that may seem crazy to people. That's the way I look at life. That's the way I look at my songs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to literally educate the world, but maybe I am. You know, one person at a time. That's what your podcast. That's the world we live in, Dillon.
Yeah.
We don't live in a world a whole lot of books anymore. We live with that telephone.
Yeah.
And I use Google and that stuff. I know how to go to the library and use what they used to call the Dewey Decimal System to look up a book. I can still do that. I don't have to. I'm lazy. I can sit right there in my easy chair and Google William Blake's poem, Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright in the Forest of the Night, or Shakespeare, or find the lyrics to Hank Williams songs. You know, you can find anything you want on there. So this is your way of, you write songs and stuff too, right? Yeah. And stories. This is your book. You're the author of this book, and you invite us guests in to do this. And I guess it's making you a living.
Yeah.
Do like a little money. That's good. But it's providing entertainment and education to people who, you know, and entertainment. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I've been real fortunate, and it's a God. I'll tell you this story because I know you'll really appreciate it. I got to a point in my life about 2.5 years ago where I've been doing this for 5.5 years, but I've only been doing it where I was making a living off of it for 2.5. And I was in construction, and I'd moved up to Montana to work as a project manager, and it didn't work out. I was there for a couple of months. Ended up down in Smithville, Texas, just outside of Austin. Lived there for a year doing project management, and a fella called me. He said, "Hey, we got this job over in Houston. If you come move over here, we'll pay you 20% more, whatever you're making in Austin." I said, "Well, yeah, let's do it."
Capitalism, America.
Yeah. So I go over to Houston. Me and my wife get in a rent house, her mother's rent house, thank God, because we just got in there and I get a message from him, "Hey, man, that job fell through." And I said, "Man, we moved all the way to Houston. You got to have something." He said, "No, I don't have anything right now. I'll let you know something. But as of right now, we have nothing." And I told my wife, I said, "You know, we got enough money saved up. I'm just going to take a little break and really figure out where we need to go from here, what we need to do." And so I sat around the house, applied here and there, and never heard anything from anybody. And I got aggravated one day, and I went out on the porch of that rent house, and I said, "God, it says in your book, the wildflower doesn't concern itself with how it's going to grow, and the birds don't concern themselves about how they're going to eat. I feel like I've been getting in my own way for years. Let's see what you got." And I'd been making these country music videos for a couple of years, just purely out of fun because I love doing it. And the day after I said that prayer, one of the platforms said that they were going to start paying people for their videos, which didn't mean a whole lot to me because at the time I wasn't getting millions of views or anything. I'd make $20 or something. But then a couple days later, I made a video about Hank Williams Jr. falling off the mountain, and it got 1.5 million views, and I got like a $700 or $800 check from that.
You went.
And I thought, well, you know, if I could do it once, I can do it again. And so I did it. Like the next video or two I put out hit over 1 million. I got paid again, and I hadn't swung a hammer since. And it was after I said that prayer. And I don't believe in coincidences at all.
Coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's crazy is that you know what scripture I'm talking about. That's not really one that you see printed on shirts or anything or bumper stickers. That's not one you see a whole lot. I went to a Wendy's last week, and I heard a woman tell a friend of mine behind me that she was homeless and she needed something to eat if he would buy her a hamburger. And I turned around and she was wearing a T-shirt that had that scripture.
Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They sow not, they reap not, they toil not. Yet Solomon in all of his glory was ne'er arrayed as one of these.
Yep.
You talking old tongue-talking Pentecostal holy roller right here, boy.
When I saw her shirt, I told my friend, I said, this one's for me.
Yeah.
God sent this one for me.
Oh, that was an accident, man. That was pure coincidence, right?
Too many things have happened to me in my life that I can look at and say that was God for me to believe in a coincidence. No. There's no such thing as them.
No.
He has blessed me immensely, and to be able to come to this town and become friends with people who I've considered heroes. You know, I did a podcast with Bobby Braddock, and I've had dinners with Bobby and stuff. And
oh, he ain't no good.
The first song I ever learned.
What's he ever done? I got you, Bobo.
The first song I ever learned all the words to was Time Marches On when I was a little boy. So to be able to come up here and sit with you and go to the backstage at the Opry all the time and hang out with the people who I grew up on and get to share their stories and stuff, God has blessed me more than I can.
Well, that other scripture said if you will honor him, he will bless you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over.
Yeah.
You know, I started a song maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I want to write it with my dear friend Alan Shamblin. I don't do a lot of co-writing, but a little bit. But, you know, back in the old days, that really wasn't what my deal was about. And sometimes it's very rewarding and fun. It's fun. With Alan it is. He's such a sweet man and such a wonderful, wonderful song craftsman. I have a saying about Alan Shamblin. If you don't like Alan Shamblin, I don't like you. Deal with it. Now, I used to use that about Red Steagall, who's another great American hero and friend of mine. But I want to write a song with Alan, and the line is, if you think you can outdream God, think again. Better yet, dream again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's good. We can't out dream God. Picture back here of with the Imperials over there. I was auditioning for the Imperials, you know, with Elvis, and that's where I met Dottie West. I didn't get the job with the Imperials, but I wrote a couple songs, and she brought me to Nashville. It worked out okay. But all I'd ever wanted to be in my life was a gospel singer.
Yeah.
Well, after we got here when it didn't work with the Imperials, I had them on a show we did, the brothers and I did at the Ryman, just a concert. And I told them the story a little bit, and I said, but God had bigger plans. Then I said, no, wait. God had different plans. I didn't want it to sound, because they, one of the great gospel groups, and, you know, some of my heroes. And that would have worked. That would have been fine. All I ever was really was a gospel singer. God had different plans. And we wound up being in, well, just to be in bigger circles, and that sounds like I'm putting them down. I am not. God did it that way.
Yeah.
Look at Elvis. Elvis was a gospel singer. Yeah. That's all he ever wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, he auditioned one time for the Imperials years ago, or the Blackwood Brothers, one of them. He wanted to be a gospel singer. Well, Elvis's influence in the pop, rock and roll pop music field was as big as Billy Graham's was in the Christian, you know, the theological, religious circles, for whatever that means. And he sang gospel music, and people got blessed by it. They loved the rock and roll. You know, they were moved in one way by that, and they were moved by How Great Thou Art and Peace in the Valley, and Help Me. Thank God that he recorded. People have told me they love his version of that. Yeah. So, be ye not deceived. God is not mocked. There's a plan to all this. My job is just to every now and then, shut up, people. Sometimes I'm supposed to just shut up and let God get in a word edgewise, and maybe even Dillon. Who knows?
Well, you talked way earlier about Carnegie Hall and some of these other places you played. But I saw a picture, you probably can't see it behind me here, but of you with a president, and I think you've probably played for more than one president in your lifetime.
Well, let's see. We played for President Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
We played for President Carter. We played for George H.W. Bush. Gampy, we called him, George Bush Sr., and for George W. at the White House. We were we played for President Trump in the first administration. Nobody from the Biden camp asked us to come play for them, so we didn't try to crash the party.
Yeah.
You get shot if you crash the party at the White House. That's not good. That's not good. We sang at the Republican, when they did the statue of Johnny Cash?
Yeah.
Went up for that. Sang at a couple of Republican events then. So that's a picture of us. Yeah, you see it with George W.
Yeah.
And our grandson, the youngest one, is Walker. Walker Graham Gatlin, named after George Walker Bush and George Herbert Walker Bush.
Wow.
So,
You stayed at the White House, didn't you?
yeah, we've stayed there a couple of times in years past. That was with H.W. and one time with George W. and Laura. They're from Midland and we're from Odessa, so we've known them since we were little kids. And our son Josh worked in the White House for him. He was on the advanced staff. That's where he met Tracy. Tracy was working for Laura.
Wow.
In her advanced office. So we go way back with those good folks.
How is it just staying the night in the White House?
Well, Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth the living." Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's scriptural. Every now and then, the Holy Spirit tells you, you need to take a look what you're doing here. You need to take some inventory.
Yeah.
So when I look back on those things, it's humbling. It's from a heart of gratitude. When we stayed there, one of the times, I don't remember which bedroom it was, but the other one we stayed in the Lincoln bedroom.
Wow.
We spent the night in the Lincoln, and I sat at the writing chair with a little table. It's just a writing chair. It's kind of like those old
like
elementary school desks, but very elaborate, carved and all that. It has the chair, and then it doesn't connect this way. Seems like it kind of connects up this way, and it opens up kind of. I'll show you one over there, like I've got. It's kind of like that. That's more of a pulpit. That's where President Lincoln sat and wrote the Emancipation Proclamation.
Wow.
What? What? You people made that happen. You bought some records. I got moderately famous with those two scoundrel brothers of mine. And we had known the Bushes, and they asked us to come sing at the inaugural and spend the night in the White House in the Lincoln bedroom where President Abraham Lincoln freed his black children from bondage of the oppressor. Really? I didn't do that by myself. Thanks.
That's incredible. I couldn't even imagine just being in there. That's incredible. But,
Well, I'll tell you a story you can't use.
Okay.
My wife and I decided we had to make love in the Lincoln bedroom. And about the time we got into it, we get a knock on the door. The guy wanted to know what we wanted for breakfast. It's the truth, isn't it, baby? Oh, well, this show has gone.
So
I think you can probably use that on the internet. Janice thinks it's funny. We've told the story before.
Well, if you're okay with it,
tell it.
I'm going to send it.
Lord. Well, hey, we love each other. We were a little younger back then. Well, Granny, you think we can try one more time? Yeah, that's
quite an accomplishment.
Absolutely the truth. There's a country song for you. We're making love in the Lincoln bedroom. What do you want for breakfast? Orange juice and toast. No. I don't know.
Oh, man. Well, the people who listen to my podcast and my ramblings, they love a good story behind the song. So of all the songs you've written, what is the favorite of yours as far as a backstory?
Well, do you have time for two?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
I'm sorry, I've got this old reflux cough. Well, I'll tell you two.
Okay.
Janice's favorite song is All the Gold in California for obvious reasons. They bought this house. You people bought this house. So, in 1965, I was a senior at Odessa High School. Miss Ann Louise Jones, my senior English teacher, one day, toward the bell rang and I gathered up my books to walk out, and she said, "Larry, would you come over here, precious? I want to talk to you a minute." Southern accent. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I want you to do a book report for special credit on John Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes of Wrath." And I said, everybody was gone. I wouldn't have dared. I said, who are you kidding? I said, I don't need any extra credit. I said, first of all, I'm going to make an A, and second of all, I'm your favorite student of all time. She said, "Larry Gatlin, you are a mess. She used the word need. You need to read this book. Here's my copy." She gave me her copy of John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. I made an A, of course I did. That was in 1965. 13 years later, I was stuck in a traffic jam in front of the Hollywood Bowl in L.A. I was on my way to Burbank, California to have a meeting with Mo Austin, the great iconic producer and record man for Warner Brothers. I was stuck in this traffic jam right at Hollywood Bowl's right there at the corner of Highland and Sunset. It's up on the hill there, where they have the concerts now. Right in front of me was a 1958 Mercury station wagon, 20 years old, purple and white, had Oklahoma license plates. It had kids hanging out the windows, pots and pans, boxes, And my mind went back to the book report. I said, good Lord, I talk out loud, I said, good Lord, look at these people, Larry Wayne, God bless them. They're coming out here from Oklahoma. They think they're going to get rich and famous. And then out of my mouth came, in one long stream of conscious Faulknerian sentence, said, they're going to find out real quickly that all the gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills in somebody else's name. Took my pen, wrote it on the Hertz rent-a-car slip. The light changed, the traffic jam broke up, and my erstwhile Jode, modern-day Jode family drove off into the California sunset. I went for my meeting with Mo Austin. He was very nice. Came out of the meeting. It was 5:07 by the clock. I'm sitting in the Warner Brothers parking lot in Burbank. 5:07. I knew that I had to leave at 5:15 to get back around that same Hollywood for another meeting with Jim Massa at United Artists Records back on Sunset.
Yeah.
And I sat there and wrote All the Gold in California in 8 minutes.
Wow.
So 6 months later, Steve and I, we signed with Columbia Records, and it was the #1 song in the country song in the world.
Wow.
So, first time I fell in love with a little girl named Jane. I fell in love with books.
Yeah.
And the process from that first grade in Abilene, Texas, to my senior year with Miss Ann Louise Jones, who I absolutely adored.
Yeah.
She's used the words, you need to read this book. She didn't say, I want you to read this book. Will you? You have to read it. She said, you need to read this book.
Yeah.
So that's one favorite story. The other one is I was sitting down in the basement one night. And I'm the first one to admit that I'm no great shakes as a guitar player. I mean, is this going to get too much guitar? Should we raise that up a little bit, you think, maybe?
Yeah, that'll probably be good.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this little my old arthritic fingers. My hands had never played that chord in my life. The guys at the Opry call it the Gatlin chord. So I was, and I said, that's beautiful, Larry. You got to write something on that. That's gorgeous. And I just sat there and it was just like, blah, 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 blah. It was horrible. I worked on it for an hour, nothing. So by now it's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I put the guitar down, walked up the stairs, go get in bed with Janice, not in the Lincoln bedroom, but in our little bedroom, that little 2-bedroom house. And I'm walking across the kitchen floor, and I said, what will I do now? I've got that beautiful melody. I don't have any words for it. Kept walking. What will I do now? What will we do? What will we do? Walk back across the kitchen, walk down the stairs, and went, what will we do now? You tell me. The hourglass is all out of sight. How could love slip through our fingers and leave nothing but time on our hands? And how will we live now? You tell me. With parts of our hearts torn away. Then out of the clear blue sky, literally my favorite line I've ever written in a song. Just existing makes dying look easy. And I stopped right there and went, ooh, that's good. Let's do that again. Just existing makes dying look easy. And I didn't know where to go. And I went, but maybe tomorrow I've done enough dying today. I said, okay, that's pretty good. Let's write a second verse. Blah, 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 blah. It was awful. I worked on it for 30, 45 minutes. I said, heck with it. Put the guitar down, walked up the stairs to go get in bed with my beautiful wife, Janice. By now it's 1:32. And as I walked across that little kitchen floor, I said, how am I going to go to sleep now? I'll never be able to go to sleep. I've got that melody's going to be, how will I sleep? How will I sleep now? I turned around, walked across the kitchen, walked down the stairs and went, how will I sleep now? You tell me. With only my arm by my side, perhaps I'll learn sleeping all over, and just maybe without dreaming this time. That's flat. And who'll make you laugh now? You tell me. Since you've sent your clown on his way, I don't think I'll cry, just die laughing. But maybe tomorrow I've done enough dying today. Ooh.
You know, I saw you play that at the Opry one evening, and I was in the audience that night, and I don't think I've ever seen the Opry that quiet that I've been there. And you could have heard a pin drop while you played that song. It's such a beautiful, touching song, and it definitely commanded the audience that night.
Good. Well, it's my favorite, and all the songwriters I hang out with, or the ones that I was talking about, Alan Shamblin a while ago, and Leslie Satcher, and some of those. It's Vince. I think Vince's my favorite might be The Heart, but he likes I've Done Enough Now. It's it never was a hit, like I say, we released it and it started off slow and tapered off. Mm. But it's my favorite. I love to sing it with the brothers. They sing beautiful harmony, and I'm very grateful for it. I when I go do master classes in songwriting, I tell the kids, I said, if you want to write, read everything. William Faulkner said, read bad writing so you know what it looks like. You know, if you want to write, think. When you say, well, I think, whatever comes after I think, write that down.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, if you want to write, listen. Mm-hmm. And I listen to myself. This is the one I use about, I was just walking across the kitchen floor saying, how am I going to go to sleep now?
Yeah.
You know? So that's how I do it. Other people, some writers can sit every day and write. I just don't do it. Mm-hmm. I just got into, I used to when I tried to do it when I was first here in town because, I was excited about it. Not that I'm not excited about it now. See, I was so excited I'm putting myself to sleep. It has just taken on a different feel.
Yeah.
Back then I was trying to get started. I don't have anything to prove anymore. And I don't mean to be catty about that or, again, proud of my humility. I'm not beating the street up down there, 16th Avenue Music Row anymore. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'd have to beat their door down because they, I'd come to the door and they'd say, who are you? And I'd say, Larry Gatlin. They'd say, what do you want? Yeah. Who are you with? So that's okay. But that's one of the reasons I mentioned a while ago that Alan Shamblin over thinking about doing our own podcast. And it's a little thing called Songs Nobody in Nashville's Dying to Hear. Mm. And you have found out in your life that content is king.
Yeah.
When you can do interesting content, and I think some of this will be interesting.
Oh, yeah, sounds like it.
I mean, the checkout guy at Publix thinks he's a songwriter, and he may be. The chances of him being a song craftsman are pretty slim.
Yeah.
But same old boy here, working at that refinery out in Odessa, those chances were pretty slim too, and God had a way of figuring it all out. But Alan and I are going to do that and have our buddies who have had hits and are quality songwriters and can't really go down to the publishing companies and get anybody to listen to them anymore. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be, they say that's the world's smallest violin playing My Heart Cries for You. We had our day, but we still have great songs.
Yeah.
And there are still people out there. As I said, the story about Dwayne Allen, I'm rooting for everybody.
Yeah. Rooting
for their dreams to come true. Mine came true, and the ones that didn't come true were somebody else's dreams that I was just holding for them and, till came true for them. So it's not sour grapes. It's with gratitude and humility that we're grateful for it. But we also know, I'm going to bet that your million and whatever viewers or subscribers, whatever you call them, I'd venture a guess that a whole bunch of them might like to listen to Alan Shamblin and Larry Gatlin sing songs and talk about, you know.
I guarantee it.
I bet they would.
You know, that's something. It's pretty cool that you're bringing this up, because it's something that I've been talking about the past week. I had Jamie Johnson on a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
I love that big old bear.
He was talking about one of the greatest, or the worst thing, I guess you should say, about this industry is all the songs that are so great that won't get heard. He was saying that, and I'm really close with Gary Gentry, who wrote The Ride and 59 and all those songs, and he has a song that he wrote called Cowboys, Turquoise, and Thunderbird Wine that I listened to it, and I'm like, if Waylon would have got a hold of that thing,
he'd have ripped it up.
It'd have been a huge. But I think there's just so many of those songs. I'm excited to see y'all do that, because there's so many great songs out there that, for whatever reason, not because they weren't a good song, but because somebody didn't answer the door.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't get out there. So I'm excited. That's going to be really cool.
Well, thank you. We're going to ask you how to do it.
Yeah, okay. I'll be glad to help.
Because you have obviously done it and made it successful. Well, you know, that old deal about water finds its own level. I mean this, Dillon. I mean it. I'm rooting for them. The music has been an incredible way of life for Janice and me and our kids and grandkids and the band and people, you know. It's because of you folks right there. See, you might have forgotten that, because I haven't reminded you of that in about like 5 or 6 minutes. And it's the way of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
If you, that poem, let the road rise up to meet you.
Mm.
Let the road come to you. Let the music, let your life come to you. If you try to attack the road and attack life, it's gonna beat you up.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. You can't whip it. You can't wrangle it, wrestle it to the ground. And if you do, all you do is just get muddy and dirty and skinned up and, you know, scarred up. So the more I can, you know, kind of, I tell my boys when they get all excited about something, I say, okay, here we go. Hobbita, hobbita, hobbita. And then my boys will go, they'll go, hobbita, hobbita, papa, hobbita, papa, hobbita, papa. Just gets, you know, again, the book says, be still and know that I'm God.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this all figured out.
Yeah.
So I don't want anything from God's storehouse except the things that have my name on it.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody else's. There was a time I did, and it drove me crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and drove me to drink and drugs, part of it. I wanted, it was, mine is mine and yours is mine. I want this, and there's no place. Remember that conversation with Dwayne Allen? Root for everybody. Somebody's got a #1 record and they're your friend.
Yeah.
So I mean that. Having said that, God has provided new avenues. Like you say, were it not for this podcast, you'd be twisting a wrench or hammering nails,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
So let's take those blessings. This new thing is new life for us.
Mm.
And I keep mentioning Alan. I was just with him a couple hours before I saw you over to a little place we gathered with some other men and some women today. Had the wives in and the kids. It was wonderful. So the world needs to hear some more of Alan. I mean, I thought he walked on water.
Yeah.
I had a grandpa like that. See, my grandpa thought he walked on water.
Yeah.
You know, and the house that built me. Merciful heavens. I lived in a house like that.
Yeah.
You know, that taught us how to save and scrimp and get by on what we had and wear hand-me-downs. And I mean, we weren't dog poor, dirt poor, but it was paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Thank God Daddy always made a paycheck.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much left.
Yeah.
After Mama paid God his 10% first out of that check, then the rest of the 90% went around all right.
Yeah.
I wrote a song. Do you have time for one more half a song?
Absolutely.
I said, oh, this isn't tuned.
You know, if we'd have planned this better, you could have played all the drop D ones first, and then
I could have done all the drop Ds. You people have no idea what we're talking about. It's not work. If you're not a guitar player, you don't. It's just. So I got this song. Got more money in my pocket. Got more money. How does it go? Got more money in my pocket than my daddy ever had in the bank. I don't know. Oh, it's got more money in my pocket. There it is. Than my daddy ever had in the bank. I don't know if there's someone to blame, but I do know there is one to thank. I've had my share of ups and downs. I sailed some stormy seas, but mostly fair winds have blown on me.
wow, I love that.
We have been so blessed. Grandmother had a second grade education, half-breed Cherokee woman. Had 12 kids with no anesthetic. I tended to listen to her. She was pretty tough. And the papa working in the oil field. And now, a while ago we were talking about being in the Lincoln bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pictures of Elizabeth Taylor and Gene Autry and Johnny Cash, whoever. It ain't been a bad deal.
Yeah.
Thanks to you folks and the grace of God.
Well, I tell you, this has just been an absolute joy to sit here and we kind of went all over the place, but we've got some good stories and got pretty deep spiritually, which is always a good thing in my book.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for...
Hey, if you don't know Jesus, he's handy.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
You know the one thing we haven't done?
What's that?
You haven't sung me one of your songs.
I'm not much of a singer.
Oh. Don't ever apologize for your work, young man. Okay? That'll be $2.
Oh, Lord.
Johnny Cash was not much of a singer compared to Johnny Mathis, but he was a song stylist, right? And it hit home.
Yeah.
Does anybody, crazy. Willie sings through his nose.
Yeah.
But he's the best sing through the nose singer that ever lived, and people love it because it's Willie and because it's honest.
Yeah.
So that'll be $2. Now sing me a song.
I'll play you a little snippet of one that I wrote
All right.
a couple of years ago. I'd come up to Nashville, and my wife was back home, and she likes to give me a hard time. And I was sitting in a hotel room, and she called me, and she said, you know, you're probably seeing all them women up there. You probably got your girlfriend up there or something, because I hadn't answered her call or something. So I sat down and wrote this. Let's see. Whether the sunshine or whether the rain or any other kind of little trivial thing, nothing really matters, it's true. I only want to be with you. Take my car, you can take my rings. Take my money, 'cause it don't mean a thing. There's only one thing that's true. I only want to be with you. There's only one thing, I suppose. You're made in heaven from your head to your toes. The first time I saw you, I knew I only want to be with you. A little bit piece of it.
Well, did she let you back in the house when you came
She
home?
did. She
See?
did. I pulled that straight out of Billy Joe Shaver's
Well,
book.
that's right. I mean, it takes what it takes, man. Those girls love songs and diamonds.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next deal is if the song didn't work, just
Buy a diamond.
throw some diamonds at her.
Well, I appreciate you for having me in your house and doing this. We're gonna have to do it again because I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface.
We scratched the surface
on
well,
your story.
We will do that, and I'll tell you what. When we get our podcast up and running and get some people, because it feeds off each other. If somebody likes it, you come over and tell us, guys, putting a new podcast together, how you did it and what you did.
Yeah.
And sing one of your songs. That's how I think that's how this thing works.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do that, and I'm looking forward to that. I think that's gonna fill a hole that needs to be filled.
Well, we think that too. That there's a little niche market there of people who are on Social Security, who are longtime country music fans. And again, I want everybody's dreams to come true. That's great. But Alan and I are not too old to dream about this. And we're going to get some of our buddies, Aaron Barker and maybe John Rich, and, who knows some other great songwriters in town, and who, like I say, may not have the key to the, penthouse anymore.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it, and we're going to ask you for help, and
I'll be
we'll
there.
help. I tell people, and this may be a little, and you probably cut this out, but any two booger-eating morons can make 1 and 1 equal 2. If you can make 1 and 1 equal 3, you're a genius. Signing off, friends and neighbors. God bless. God bless America.